everybody, John McClellan here, ATX Hot Sauce. That's atxhotsauce.com. If you like these videos, don't forget to subscribe down below. Got a great show for you today. Had tons of new subscribers. We're up to 2,600 plus now. Please, we need more, trying to get to that 5,000 mark. But we've got a lot of questions today. We've got hundreds of questions about the fermenting process. We're going to try to answer some of those today. And on our last video, we challenged all of our subscribers and all of our viewers out there to help us come up with this new hot sauce with a new name, right? And it's the fermented garlic, fermented in honey with habaneros. And we've got a winner. We're going to announce that here in just a few minutes too. So stay tuned. All right, guys, I have been overwhelmed with questions and with comments and with suggestions for our new hot sauce name. And we're going to talk about the winner here in just a few minutes. In our past video, the honey garlic habanero, we didn't have a name for it. This is the one where we took garlic, fermented it in honey, right, with some habanero, blended that all together. Very simple, fantastic sauce, by the way. Probably one of my absolute favorites at the moment. So we do have a winner for that. But I want to go through some of the other name suggestions that we had before we picked the winner. Some pretty funny ones on there. We had the sweet stinger, right? Sweet stinger, that was a good one. The habanero garlic, sweet Texas fire. And it is fire, by the way. Honey, the vampire slayer. Let's see what else we got here. The formula, sweet and spicy. The bee sting was another good one. I almost took that one. We have a winner there. I'll go over that here in just a minute. The beware. The atomic honey garlic, which is good. This is a very hot sauce. It's pretty interesting how this has become one of our most flavorful, but one of our spiciest sauces that we have. It's literally just habaneros, honey, and garlic, and the garlic's fermented in the honey itself. We have the, let's see here, what else we got? The stinging garlic, the haba-harlic sauce, the smelly bee, I guess that's for the garlic, the honey bee venom, wildflower habanero, the awesome. What else we got? Sweet murder hornet. That was one of my favorites. Sweet murder hornet, but we didn't choose that one. Sweet heat. That's already taken by one of our other sauces out there. H2 garlic. The honeymoon. That was one. Honey bee habanero. That was another good one. Sweet honey heat. There's a ton of them on here, so thank you for everybody with your suggestions on that last video's comments. Check it out. It's the honey garlic habanero video. You can check out all the comments, but I'm going to announce the winner right now. Guess what? It's Honey Bee Hot, and here it is. Honey Bee Hot. I think the name is fantastic because honey, it be hot, right? So Mike Kirk, thank you so much for this suggestion. We've moved forward with it. And as a gift to you, say thank you. We're sending you one of these bottles for free. And we're going to give you a ATX Hot Sauce t-shirt. It's got the ATX logo right here. Got a big picture of Arnie, our spokes armadillo on the back here. Pretty cool t-shirt, great quality. I got this size, this t-shirt going out to you along with the hot sauce. So please either hit me up at John M at atxhotsauce.com. That's John M at atxhotsauce.com, or just hit me on YouTube and I'll get all your information and send this out to you. Here in just a minute, I also want to go over just some of the comments that we've been getting, some of the suggestions, and I'm going to go through those and kind of show you how to do some of the brines. That's a big one. What percentage do we use? How do you figure out the percentage? What equipment you use? We're going to go over that here in just a second. All right, guys, one of our most latest comments that we have here is how do you determine the best use date? We put the best to use date right here on our labels. I do the brine at about a 3.5% brine solution to salt. When we bottle, we do a hot bottling technique, and the sauce itself is about 3.5 to 3.6 on the pH scale, which makes it very shelf stable. I would probably trust these things to go for at least a year unopened on a counter somewhere or in your cabinet. We always recommend that once you do open them up, to put it in the refrigerator. But where do I get the time? We put 6 months on there. I think that's fairly conservative, listen, you could probably hold on to it for over a year. I've got some sauces in my cabinet right now that we made over a year ago that I haven't opened, or some I have opened recently that are just fine. pH level still very low. As I said before, we have that real low pH level, high acidity when we do bottle, plus we use a hot bottling technique. So it should be very safe and very shelf stable. Another question we got here. How do you stop the fermentation? There's a couple of different ways to do it, right? I see a lot of people online, a lot of my friends, what they'll do is they'll take a big pan and they'll pour the sauce in the pan and they'll heat it up, right? They'll boil it for 15 or 20 minutes. I don't really like cooking my sauce that way and for that long. I think it changes some of the nuances and some of the flavors that you get with the fermentation process. What we do is we pasteurize, and we actually do it in our Vitamix blender. We invested in some Vitamix blenders not too long ago. We found that on one of the settings, you can actually heat it up to about 165 degrees or hotter, whatever you want. We heat up these to about 165 degrees. We keep it there for about 1 minute to 2 minutes, which is way longer than you need. It stops the fermentation process, right? It pasteurizes everything. And with the low acidity and the hot bottling, it makes it a very shelf-stable product. So yeah, we actually do it as we're blending it. We actually heat it in the blender, and that Vitamix has that setting that actually will heat the sauce up. You can actually make soup in your blender if you like, with a lot of good hot sauce in it, I would hope. Another one is what kind of pH meter do I use? You know, you can use strips. They're not as accurate, but they'll give you a good range. This one is the Oakton Echo Tester, OAKTON Echo Tester right here. It's electronic. Make sure you keep some distilled water or zero water in here to keep the sensor moist all the time, and make sure you store it standing up when you're using these pH meters. That's very, very important. Also, everybody's like, hey, how do you test the temperature? You just use a regular thermometer. We use an instant read thermometer. You can find these on Amazon for between $5 and $15. They're real easy. You stick it in, shows you the temperature. So sanitizing, here's another question we have. What do you use for a sanitizing process? Obviously, we heat our bottles to sanitize them that way, but we also use Star San on everything too. It is Star San, STARSAN. You know, about 1 ounce of this per gallon, and you let it sit for about 30 to 40 seconds, maybe a minute. Kills all the nasties on there and keeps everything really, really well sanitized. All right, how do you create your brine? Well, it's actually really simple on how to create a brine, so I'm going to show you guys here real quick. The best way to do it is you take a scale, right? Don't forget to turn your scale on. Whatever vessel you're going to put the brine in as you're mixing it, we're just going to use this for purposes of this experiment here. Make sure you weigh it and then you zero it out, okay? So it's all zeroed out now. And then I'm going to fill this with water to get the weight of the water. Let me do that real quick. All right, so we've got our water and we've zeroed out the scale to take out the weight of the glass, right? And that gives us about 341 grams of water. So I'm going to take my trusty little calculator right here, right? We're going to do 341 times 3.5% equals 11.93 ounces. Grams. So that's how much salt I'm going to need to put into there. So we'll probably just round it up to 12 grams of salt. The easiest way to do that is to now zero this out. Now we're going to add 12 grams of salt to this. Makes it real easy to do. So we're at 0 on the scale, so anything we add is going to weigh that. This is Himalayan sea salt here. Really good stuff, just straight salt. And we're just going to weigh out 12 grams. You don't have to be exact, but I like to get it to at least that 12 mark, and 12.1. That actually works out real well. You're going to stir this up, let it dissolve. This is a perfect brine right here. That's all you got to dump in there. Now, I know a lot of people will weigh the fruit or vegetables and the water together to get that. I just do the water weight and do a 3.5%. Sometimes I do a 4% brine, just depending on what kind of fruits and vegetables that I have in there. So a big question I get is, where do you get your labels made at? So here's a little print out of some of the labels. We actually get them from Avery. If you go to avery.com, they actually have a really cool tool. You can import all your own graphics and build your labels right there, and you can actually print them on your home laser or inkjet printer, or you can have them print them for you. And if you get a lot of labels, it actually gets pretty cheap. If you're not doing very many labels, though, that can be a little expensive having them do it, but you can just do it right in your home. As you can see, we can add everything onto these. It makes it real easy. You just peel them off like that, and just put it on the bottle. Fairly, very simple. Local printers will also do the labels for you. I just find that the Avery solution is just very easy to use. So that's kind of my go-to thing for it. So another question we get is, what else can you add to your pepper fermentations? Well, there's all kinds of stuff you can add to it. One of the things we've been experimenting with lately is hibiscus flowers. You know how you make a hibiscus tea, and we're actually making some habaneros and some red Fresno hot sauce with hibiscus in it too. We'll see how that turns out. In fact, there's a video coming out here shortly, if it's not already out, on how to do a red Fresno scorpion peppers and hibiscus. So check out that video. I put onions in there. We put plums. We put blueberries. Anything you can think of, we'll put it in there as long as we think that the flavors are going to meld together. So don't be afraid. You don't just have to do the peppers. Add other stuff in there. Put layers of flavor in there. I find when you ferment the fruits and the vegetables together, it actually makes for a better sauce. You can just taste those levels. If you do them all separately, when you blend it, it puts it all together, but I think the sauce needs to rest longer, but just kind of like a wine, right? It needs to rest longer before all those full flavors come through. That's why we like to brine all of our stuff together in one fermentation. All right, what kind of the dried peppers do you use? And this is kind of a two-part question. We get a lot of questions like, can we use dried peppers in our fermentation? Yes, by all means do that. We do that all the time. Our adobe chipotle, guajillo chilies, adobe chipotles. We do those in there. A lot of those are dried peppers though. But what you want to do is add either fresh vegetables or other fresh fruits, like some other, like normal peppers, right? Some peppers that are very fresh, onion, whatever it may be. Make sure you add fresh fruits and vegetables with the dried so they can start that fermentation process. As a matter of fact, what I like to do is that when we make a fermentation and then we turn it into a sauce, a lot of times we have some brine left over. That's a great starter, right? It's a great starter for a new batch of fermentation. So we actually bottle and can some of those brines that we've used in other ones, and we'll just pull them out, dump them into the new fermentation, right? And it jump starts it. More questions. What else we got here? I've been told I say right a lot, so I'm going to try not to say that, right? All right, another question here. You mentioned pasteurizing your sauce. Why do you do that? It's very, very simple. When you bottle this and you do not stop the fermentation process, and about the fermentation process, people are like, well, how long do you ferment? The garlic fermented in the honey on this batch for about 4 months. The habaneros actually fermented in their own brine for about 2.5 months. The fermentation process had almost stopped at that point, but it was still going on, but at a very minute amount. If you don't stop that fermentation process before you bottle one of these, here's what's going to happen. You're going to give it to your mom, or to your dad, or to your best friend. They're going to go, oh, this looks really, really good, honey. And they're going to take it home with them, right? And they're going to open it up, and it's going to shoot straight up like a volcano, hit the ceiling, go all over everybody, into their eyes, and it's hot, right? It's going to get everywhere. Because as that fermentation process goes, that CO2 is still released. It gets pressure in there. That could happen. Another thing could happen, you can take this hot sauce, you go, what? Oh, my son got this for me. They're going to put it in the cabinet. They're going to come home one day. They're going to open the cabinet door, and there's going to be hot sauce everywhere because the bottle itself exploded in the cabinet. You don't want that. You got to stop the fermentation process. I know it kills all the good bacteria in there that's good for your gut. To be honest, is that really why you're eating hot sauce, right? To help your gut? Probably not, right? So make sure you pasteurize or heat this up or do something to stop the fermentation process, because if you don't, bad things can happen. All right, here's another question. Hey, where do you get all your equipment at? You know, we've got airlocks that we use a lot of the time. We also got the screw-on, just these with the screw-on lids. You can burp instead of using this. I like using airlocks better because every time you burp something, it does allow oxygen back into it. You know, they have the flip lids. You can pop those open a little bit, let some of the gas out, but it still allows some oxygen to get into it. The great thing about these airlocks is that once you stick it down in there, put the cap on, put a little bit of brine. I like to put vodka in there. And then you put the lid on it. As that CO2 is being released, it pushes all the oxygen out, right? And the excess CO2 out. But it creates this airlock so no air can actually go inside of it. And a great way to find out if the fermentation process has slowed down or stopped is that as the fermentation process is happening, this little guy right here will hover above it, right? And as it stops, it'll go further down until it's just sitting there. And you'll have a good idea whether the fermentation process has stopped. Now remember, just like in the previous comment, it never really stops until you stop it through pasteurization or through heating. So make sure you still do that. But yeah, we get a lot of this online. Amazon, the hibiscus flowers, Amazon, Star Sand, Amazon. Woozy bottles, Amazon. We actually have a distributor for them. We have the foil wrappers here that go on that, Amazon. Labels, Avery, of course. Salt, Amazon, or your local grocery store, whatever it may be. Scales, Amazon. There's all kinds of places to get it. You just have to kind of be vigilant. What I've found is when you're searching for some of the things that you like to use, like these Woozy bottles or whatever bottles you're using, or for instance, these cans right here, like the wide mouth canning jars. Sometimes a lot of people are using them. They become hard to find. Just wait a little while and compare prices. They'll fluctuate a lot based upon how much inventory they have. There's other couple places too. Boxes. We have a couple of different box companies online that we use. Uline is a good one. The fruits and vegetables, where do we get those from? Well, it's very seasonal when it comes to peppers, right? The super hots, we're getting to the end of the super hot season. We're going to have trouble finding them over the next couple of months, right? Until we hit spring again. You're still going to be able to find habaneros, especially live in southern United States. We live in Texas here. I can usually get habaneros year-round. Definitely get jalapenos year-round and serranos year-round. But the super hots, like the red scorpions and the red Fresnos, though they're not as super hot, those are harder to get during the winter. So what we like to do is to buy a lot of those in bulk, right? And then we'll ferment those in big 5-gallon buckets with whatever ingredients we want to. And we can have those fermenting 3, 4, 5, or 6 months. So we have sauce year-round to provide for all of our patrons out there, right? And don't forget, if you like these videos, subscribe below. If you want to try our hot sauce, one of our many hot sauces that we have, go to our website, atxhotsauce.com. We'll ship it to you. We got gift boxes, great for Christmas, Thanksgiving, whatever you want to do for the New Year's. You know, everybody's wondering what to get Dad, and Dad's probably going to get socks or a tie. Why don't you give him some hot sauce instead, right? All right, guys, thanks for watching this video. Don't forget, if you have more comments or you have more questions, be sure to put them down below. Hit the subscribe button. Try to be very vigilant about answering all your questions online and through these videos. Subscribe below, atxhotsauce.com. And don't forget, you can get our sauces online at atxhotsauce.com.